You're watching the WNBA's biggest star go from dropping dimes and draining logo threes to limping off the court, clutching her side, face twisted in pain. Not once, not twice, but 4 times this season alone. And each time, the Indiana Fever shrugged it off like it was just a little tweak. Day to day, they say. Just some soreness, they claim. But now, her own doctor is stepping in, and what he's saying might change everything. If you're here for the real story and not the filtered version, subscribe. And if you're sticking around for the next meltdown, you better definitely subscribe. Because the real story of Caitlin Clark's injuries isn't just about one superstar's pain. It's about what's being hidden, who's being silenced, and why the WNBA might be on the verge of losing the biggest thing it is going. So let's break it down. A dangerous pattern. By the time Clark hobbled off the court during that brutal Fever-Sun matchup, fans already knew the drill. A tough screen, a hard fall, and then the limp again. But what no one realized at the time was just how deep this injury rabbit hole went. This wasn't just a groin strain. It was a 4th lower body injury in 2 months. Left quad, left groin, right groin. Same story, different side. Experts are now calling it a textbook compensation injury pattern, where one injury leads to subtle overcompensation in the body, which then causes strain somewhere else. It's like whack-a-mole with pain, and the more you ignore it, the worse it gets. And still, the Fever insisted she was fine. Just a little tightness. Really? The day-to-day lie. Here's where the red flags start piling up, according to multiple orthopedic specialists, off the record, because teams love to keep the stuff in-house. Caitlin's injuries are nowhere near day-to-day. We're talking week-to-week minimum. And that's if she's given full rest, treatment, and rehab. But instead, she's playing 30-plus minutes, flying cross-country, and doing promotional appearances for a league that's clearly cashing in on her fame without protecting the body behind it. Some fans have started calling it what it is, exploitation, how the body broke down. Here's what's going on behind the scenes, physically. Coming into the season, Clark reportedly added significant muscle mass, likely in an attempt to prepare for the more physical pro game. But while bulking up helps with strength and durability, it also shifts biomechanics if not properly integrated. Her shot mechanics? Slightly different. Her movement patterns? Altered just enough to throw off her natural gait. Now add in a brutal WNBA schedule with back-to-back games, heavy defensive pressure, and very little margin for rest? The result, a body pushed past its limit, forced to compensate for each injury until it finally gives out. The breaking point, Connecticut game. And that's exactly what happened during the Fever's game against the Connecticut Sun. It wasn't just that she was slow to get up, it was the way she reacted. She winced. She tried to run it off. She bent over, hands on her knees. But the most telling part? The tears. Clark, who's famously stoic on the court, cried on the bench. That wasn't just physical pain. That was frustration, fear, and complete emotional burnout. And still, the league called it mild discomfort. Imagine LeBron doing that in his rookie season. Do you think the NBA would downplay it? Exactly. Losing trust in the team. Sources close to Clark's camp have now confirmed what many fans suspected. She's no longer relying solely on the Indiana Fever's medical staff. She's bringing in outside experts, NBA-level specialists, regenerative therapy consultants, and biomechanical evaluators. Because at this point, the trust is broken. And can you blame her? When your team treats a string of cascading injuries like they're just a bruise, it stops being about basketball. It becomes about self-preservation. This isn't about missing games. It's about protecting career. Enter advanced therapies. So what's next? Clark's doctors are reportedly considering a combination of advanced regenerative techniques to stabilize her recovery. We're talking stem cell therapy to accelerate tissue healing in damaged muscle fibers, hyperbaric oxygen chamber treatments to reduce inflammation and promote circulation, biomechanical retraining to prevent re-injury by correcting imbalances that led here in the first place. This isn't just about healing. It's about resetting her body before things spiral beyond repair. And yet, not a single mention of these techniques has come from the Indiana Fever organization. They're still feeding fans day to day. The public is waking up. Fans aren't stupid. They see what's happening. Every time Clark limps down the court, every time she grabs her hip, every time she disappears from the bench during timeouts, people notice, and more importantly, they're furious. The hashtags are already trending. Hashtag protect Caitlin. Hashtag feverfail. Hashtag not day to day. Her own family has quietly expressed concerns. Even other players have started voicing frustration about how the league protects or fails to protect its stars. The question now isn't if something needs to change. It's when. The bigger picture, athlete empowerment. Let's zoom out again. What we're seeing with Caitlin Clark is part of a bigger shift in professional sports, where elite athletes are no longer just listening to team doctors. They're hiring their own, taking ownership of their bodies, speaking out when something feels wrong. Because at the end of the day, this isn't about loyalty to a jersey. It's about career survival. Clark didn't fight her way to the top just to watch it unravel because someone else didn't take her injuries seriously. She's reclaiming control. And that might be the smartest play of her career so far. What this means for the WNBA. This is a crossroads moment for the league. If they want Caitlin Clark to be the face of the WNBA, if they want the TV deals, the packed arenas, the sold-out merch, they have to do the one thing they failed at so far. Protect her. That means stricter enforcement on dangerous plays. It means better travel conditions. It means public transparency on medical evaluations. And yes, it might mean stepping in when teams mishandle injuries. Because if the league can't prove they care for their stars, those stars won't stick around. A comeback is coming, but on her terms. Here's the hopeful part. Clark's not done. Far from it. If anything, this injury saga may be the best thing that's happened to her long term, because now she knows exactly who's in her corner and what she needs to protect herself. She'll rest. She'll rehab. She'll come back stronger. But when she does, it won't be because someone told her she was day to day. It'll be because she chose to heal the right way. So here's what we've learned. Caitlin Clark isn't just battling defenders on the court. She's battling an entire system off it. One that's slow to adapt, quick to capitalize, and all too willing to overlook injury signs until it's too late. But she's not playing along anymore. With outside doctors, advanced therapies, and a new understanding of her body, Clark is charting a different path. One that doesn't wait for permission. One that doesn't settle for day-to-day when the truth is week-to-week. And one that just might set the new standard for athlete empowerment in women's sports. Because if there's one thing we know by now, you don't bet against Caitlin Clark. There's a saying in sports, pain is temporary, pride is forever. But for Caitlin Clark, pride isn't healing her groin. Ice baths aren't fixing the systemic failures around her. And no motivational quote is going to stop the cycle of re-injury that's been spinning like a rigged carousel since the start of her rookie season. What's happening here isn't just a physical breakdown. It's a cultural one. Because Caitlin Clark has become a lightning rod. Not just for defenders trying to wear her down, but for every failing, every outdated system, and every shortcut the WNBA and the Indiana Fever have tried to take in handling the face of their league. And now, she's done waiting. The illusion of recovery. Here's the part they don't want you to see. Behind the pre-game warm-ups and cryptic game-time decision labels, Clark has been limping through practices, wincing during lateral drills, skipping out on full scrimmages. She's been showing up, going through motions, but anyone paying attention could tell it's not 100%, not even close. When the Fever say she's improving, they mean she can jog up the court without collapsing. That's not progress. That's desperation. And for someone who thrives on speed, angles, and split-second decision-making, jogging is a death sentence for her style of play, the real price of playing hurt. Let's be clear, most athletes play through pain. That's the job. What separates the smart ones from the cautionary tales is knowing when to say no. Clark said yes too many times. Yes to staying in the game after the first groin pull. Yes to ramping up for back-to-backs with 0 rest days. Yes to media appearances and lead promo events with aching muscles and stiff joints. She gave the WNBA everything it asked for and more, but when she needed time, care, and a medical plan that made sense. Silence. Now she's paying for it. Lack of veteran advocacy. One of the most surprising aspects of Clark's injury saga is how few veterans have stepped up publicly to defend her. Where are the voices from the league's elder stateswomen? Where's a collective outcry from players who've lived this reality for years? There's a quiet divide in the league between the old guard who had to grind without national spotlight and the new stars like Clark who arrive with instant fame and major endorsements. That tension? It's real. And it's one reason Clark's situation has become so isolating. There are whispers, sure, supportive tweets here and there, but no coordinated player pushed to demand she be treated like the generational talent she is. And maybe that's part of the problem. The business of being Caitlin Clark. The Fever aren't just managing a player. They're managing a brand. Caitlin Clark jerseys fly off shelves. Her highlight reels dominate SportsCenter. She moves tickets, fills arenas, and anchors broadcast deals. So when the face of your franchise says, "I'm not feeling right," you don't see it as a medical issue. You see it as a marketing emergency. How do you sell a product if your star isn't on the court? That pressure trickles down through trainers, PR staff, and coaches who suddenly have to spin injury reports like press releases. So instead of a clear injury timetable, fans get minor soreness. Instead of a break, Clark gets managed minutes. Instead of rest, she gets reassurances. It's smoke and mirrors, and everyone's breathing in the fumes. Fans are starting to turn. This is where things get tricky. Clark entered the league with more goodwill than most athletes see in a decade. But the injury drama, coupled with on-court tension and cryptic updates, has created frustration. Some fans are starting to ask, is she being babied? Why isn't she pushing through? Why does it feel like everything is a story with her? That's what happens when transparency breaks down. People start filling in the blanks with their own narratives. But the truth is, Clark isn't soft. She's exhausted. She isn't dodging games. She's being dragged into them before she's ready. And if fans can't see that, the league hasn't done its job. A franchise at a crossroads. For the Indiana Fever, this season was supposed to be the turning point. The arrival of Caitlin Clark was meant to signal a new era. Ticket sales, national relevance, finally escaping the bottom of the standings. But instead of building around her, they built on top of her. They handed her the keys to a team with no suspension system, no backup plan, no veteran leadership structure designed to protect their star. Now, with her sidelined intentions mounting behind the scenes, the organization faces a choice. Do they double down on the day-to-day charade, or do they publicly commit to a long-term vision that prioritizes health, sustainability, and actual team building? So far, they've chosen silence. And silence rarely wins championships. The playbook moving forward. If Caitlin Clark wants to own her future, and she clearly does, there are a few plays left in her book. 1. Go dark. Shut it down. No half-speed returns. No minutes restrictions that make her look ineffective and force media pile-ons. Let the groin heal. Fully. Completely. 2. Control the narrative. Start talking. Not through the team. Not through league-approved messaging. Through her own channels. Her platform is massive. She can shape how this story is told. And she needs to. 3. Push for medical autonomy. If she's not doing it already, she needs full authority over who handles her rehab. This isn't college anymore. She's a pro. She should have the best specialists in the world in her corner. 4. Reevaluate the future in Indiana. This part's uncomfortable, but it's real. The rookie contract doesn't last forever. If the Fever continue to treat her like a mascot instead of foundational piece, there will be no shortage of teams ready to build a proper empire around her. What the league must do, now, the WNBA has a responsibility here too. Because if Caitlin Clark flames out early due to mismanagement, that's not just an Indiana problem. That's a league-wide disaster. They need to step in and set player protection protocols. They need to evaluate team medical standards. And most of all, they need to back their stars, not just brand them. The league loves to plaster Clark's face across billboards and bumpers. But now it's time to show up when it matters. Caitlin Clark didn't ask to be the WNBA savior, but her talent made her a symbol of change, of hope, of what women's basketball could be at its peak. And now, she's become a symbol of something else. A warning. A reminder that even the brightest stars can burn out if the people around them forget that behind the stats and shoe deals is a human body, one that bends, breaks, and bleeds like anyone else's. This isn't just a comeback story. It's a wake-up call. And if the WNBA wants to avoid a crisis, it better start listening. Because Clark's not just playing for the Fever anymore. She's playing for every young girl who dreams of reaching the top without being broken by the climb. The moment Caitlin Clark stepped off the court in visible pain during that game against Connecticut, it wasn't just a medical situation. It was a tipping point. What had been a slow brewing storm of tension between her, the Indiana Fever, and the broader WNBA ecosystem exploded into a full-blown crisis. Because this wasn't just about groin injuries or missed all-star games anymore. This was now about control, credibility, and the future of an entire league hinging on one player's well-being. A star on the sideline is a league on the brink. Let's be real. Caitlin Clark's absence from the All-Star Weekend wasn't just disappointing. It was catastrophic from a marketing standpoint. Ticket sales, brand partnerships, and primetime ratings were all built around her presence. Networks banked on her. Fans flew in for her. Sponsors printed merch with her face on it. And then, gone. A few cryptic lines in a press release, some vague comments about tightness, and a forced smile from Caitlin at Media Day that said everything but, "I'm okay." It wasn't just a letdown, it was a revelation, because it made one thing crystal clear. The WNBA has built a skyscraper on a cracked foundation, and Caitlin Clark is holding up far more than she should have to. The league's PR armor is starting to crack. For months, league officials and team reps have tried to arm themselves in generic optimism. Every week, it was the same recycled phrases. "We're monitoring things. She's making progress. She's a competitor." But fans aren't buying it anymore. The facade is breaking. Social media is catching on. Threads are popping up dissecting every moment Clark hobbled, every clip of her wincing mid-play, every time a coach downplayed her discomfort like it was just a little soreness. The truth? That little soreness was a cascade of muscle imbalances, overuse, and brutal wear and tear. The kind that doesn't go away with tape and a Gatorade. What's worse, the longer the league tries to downplay it, the more credibility they lose. Whispers inside the locker room. Behind closed doors, the mood in the Fever locker room has shifted. What began as excitement, being part of franchise rebirth of the most hyped rookie since Diana Taurasi, has morphed into something more tense. Veterans aren't just frustrated with losing. They're frustrated with the spotlight constantly fixed on one player, even if that player is objectively carrying the team. There are quiet grumbles about rotations, touches, and even medical favoritism. Some players reportedly feel like the entire organization is bending over backward for Caitlin, even as the team struggles to stay above .500. And yet, paradoxically, Caitlin herself feels like she's been left to fend for herself when it matters most. It's not jealousy. It's misalignment. A star this big needs an ecosystem built around her, not just on the court, but in the training room, the front office, and even the PR strategy. Right now, that system is buckling. What Indiana should have done from day one. If this were a different league or a different team, here's how things would have gone down. The moment Caitlin tweaked her groin, she's immediately shut down for 2 to 3 weeks. Top-tier specialists are flown in, no expense spared. A custom recovery plan is crafted, not just to treat the injury, but to prevent the next one. And in the meantime, the team rallies around her absence. Coaching strategies adapt. Workload is redistributed. PR frames the injury as part of a long-term vision. That's not what Indiana did. Instead, Clark was back on the floor before she could blink. Minutes restrictions were inconsistent. Medical updates were vague. And every time she grimaced after a play, the camera cut to a coach pretending nothing was wrong. That's not care. That's damage control. Clark's camp isn't sitting still. If you think Caitlin's just waiting this out, think again. Her team, agents, trainers, even close advisors from her Iowa days, are quietly but actively reasserting control. Word is they've started building a medical team outside of the Fever staff. They're eyeing sports science programs, usually reserved for top NBA players. They're consulting orthopedic specialists, sleep coaches, even biomechanic consultants who work with Olympic sprinters. This isn't a player hoping to just get through the season. This is a franchise-caliber athlete prepping to outlast the chaos around her. And that's what scares Indiana. Because when a player this valuable starts insulating herself from the team that drafted her, it's a red flag, not just for her current organization, but for every team in the league looking to poach her when her rookie deal is up. Let's talk about 2026. Because here's the secret everyone already knows. If Indiana doesn't figure this out fast, Caitlin Clark will leave. It won't be personal. It won't even be dramatic. It'll be strategic. She'll walk into a franchise with a player-first culture, one with proven stars who want to play with her, not around her, a team with a medical staff that uses cutting-edge recovery protocols, a city that understands her value both on and off the court. And guess what? Teams are already preparing for that possibility. You think the Liberty haven't had internal discussions about future cap space? You think the Aces wouldn't reshuffle their roster in a heartbeat to make room? You think Nike, who reportedly has Clark on a multi-million-dollar endorsement track, wouldn't quietly nudge her toward a bigger market? This isn't speculation. It's inevitability, unless Indiana wakes up. What this means for the WNBA's future. Let's zoom out for a second. Caitlin Clark isn't just a great player. She's a litmus test. Her situation is exposing every weakness the league has swept under the rug for years. Outdated medical protocols, lack of transparent injury reporting, fragile player-team relationships, minimal infrastructure for star development. You want to be a major sports league? You can't treat generational talent like an interchangeable part. You have to build systems, not just rosters, that can protect, support, and maximize them. Because if you don't, the next generation notices. College stars, international prospects, sponsors, they all see how your best player is treated. And right now, the optics are brutal. Fans are more educated than ever. One thing the WNBA underestimated, the intelligence and vigilance of its own fan base. This isn't the early 2000s anymore. Fans read injury reports. They follow athletic trainers on social media. They break down kinesiology in Reddit threads. They spot limp gaits, alter mechanics, and inefficient strides before the league's official Twitter account posts the final score. You can't gaslight the audience anymore. If Caitlin's not healthy, people know. And if she's being mishandled, they're going to call it out loudly, publicly, and persistently. Yes, this story is about Caitlin Clark. But really, it's about the WNBA's next chapter. Because how the league handles this saga, how they pivot, protect, and rebuild trust, will determine whether they're ready for the spotlight that Clark helped shine on them. This is a defining moment. And defining moments don't just reveal character. They shape it. Let's hope the WNBA and the Indiana Fever are ready